Welcome to the Managing Moments series of videos. The seed for Managing Moments was planted over 20 years ago. When we started homeschooling, we quickly discovered that we could not do homeschooling in the same way as a traditional course. We might have a syllabus and materials, but a home environment is very different from a classroom. So we had a very dynamic process. We would have a curriculum, but things happened. We discovered new resources, we discovered new approaches, we were doing therapies. So all of these different factors influenced what happened each day. So even though I do not call it managing moments, we have been living this process for over 20 years. As we started thinking about it, this has five main steps. And these five steps and the visuals came from some other work that I'd done in a professional context, but it really describes the managing moments process very clearly. So the first step is awareness, which is about seeing possibilities. So, for example, we saw a possibility for folding circles. We didn't know how this is going to work, but a parent suggested this approach and we thought we would give it a try. So a lot of homeschooling worked this way. Now, during the discovery stage, we set priorities. Now, often we may not have priorities. So we didn't do folding because it was a top priority, but we did want Ananth to stay engaged. And this was a hands on activity of folding circles. So we thought we'll give it a try. The other word we can use instead of priorities is point of learning. So we certainly did know that Ananth needed something hands-on and you can't just sit and do desk work all day long. So it seemed worth giving a try. The third stage is about a path. So once he started doing the folding, we quickly discovered that he enjoyed it. But we also discovered that he did not like to fold a lot of paper plates on the same day. Now, some children have seen they like to do that. What he liked was he liked to fold paper circles and he liked to color them. So that was a path for us. We did not fold paper plates as much as paper circles. He liked the feel better and he used to spend a lot of time coloring them. So each individual is going to have their own path, even with the same resource or tool or approach. And then we come to the practice stage. Now, certainly he was practicing the folding, but he was also practicing the coloring. And finally, the progress. He enjoyed it. And in this case, we were not looking for specific skills, but we could see that he was folding more neatly, coloring, and so those kind of skills automatically emerged. So this is one example, and in each video, I'll give a different example for the concepts and methods that we are talking about. Now, there are five activities for the week. For Monday, the first activity was for thinking about possibilities. Think about some possibilities for your child. A lot of these possibilities come from what you have been doing in the past. Possibilities might be suggested by professionals. You may also have your own connections through different communities. So, whatever it is, there may be different possibilities that you've looked at, and some of them seem relevant to your child. So, make a list of possibilities. You may not be able to work on all of them at once, but it's good to start with a list. Now, you could be thinking about possibilities in a broad way or a narrow way. So, for example, include movement throughout the day is fairly broad. Walk 1 mile daily is a more specific possibility. The second one is about priorities. And as I mentioned before, if you're not clear about the priorities, just think in terms of the point of learning. So you, even though you have 10 possibilities, based on the point of learning, you think certain things are possible to do right now. So, for example, if you want to cook with a child and the child will only pay attention for a very short period of time, you may want to consider that point of learning to see, how you can involve him in cooking. Or maybe cooking is not the right possibility to choose. You might choose something simpler, for example, cleaning the table. So think about priorities slash point of learning. The next activity is thinking about a path. A path may not be obvious in the beginning. So maybe this is not something to emphasize at this point. But the difference between priorities and path is path, you're clearer that you're going to start at a certain point and progress in a certain way. So, for example, we are going to start by cleaning a table together, and then we're going to clean multiple tables, and then we're going to expand it to, cleaning three surfaces together, something like that. So you have a progression in mind. The next one is practice targets. So, what exactly do you want to practice? Now, our focus is more on enjoying experiences together, and we'll talk about this later. But we also want to have some specific tangible goals to practice. Think about goals both for yourself and for the child. It's not just about making the child do certain things. So, there are a lot of goals that we can work on, and we'll talk about this in the third week when we talk about the lessons that I learned from relationship development intervention. So the key point here is come up with at least one practice target for yourself and one for your child. Finally, you have to have some ways for tracking progress. Some outcomes may be expected, others just happen. So you have to keep track of what's happening, monitor what's happening, and make changes. So this is really at the heart of moments thinking. We don't really have a process that goes from point A to point B. Things happen, unexpected progress happens, unexpected challenges come up. And so we have to constantly monitor the situation and adjust what we are doing. So to wrap up, managing moments is a very dynamic process. It's more suitable for a parent situation. We can't really have a very rigid process that goes from point A to point B when we are working with a moving target. So we have to be able to adapt, but at the same time, we need to be systematic. Otherwise, it's very difficult to accomplish anything, and it also creates stress. So managing moments is a structured yet flexible process. And we'll talk more about details when we talk about the 7 tips next week, and then other tips for setting goals for parents and so on. So we'll stop at this point, and I encourage you to think about the 5 P's and get started. All the P's may not be clear in the beginning, but do at least think about possibilities and point of learning.